So India's doing some tremendous stuff with national identity, and identity is so closely linked with payments. The reason we're using plastic cards is they're a surrogate form of identity, and I think over time that is going to morph into something else. It may be bioidentity, it may be some device that we carry other than the plastic card, but certainly India has a lot of traction in sort of a national identity system, and that's a huge head start.
Are regulations a hindrance for the development of payment ecosystem? Say, for example, the two-step authentication process. How do you see that in India?
Yeah, look, regulations are supposed to be hindrance, okay? That's everyone's like, they're a hindrance, but they're supposed to be. You don't want payment systems evolving too quickly. You want the ideas, but you also need to control it because, look, it's money. People depend on it. And anytime you start moving money, you attract a lot of fraud, a lot of bad actors. So the regulations and the creativity go hand in hand. And you have to have both. Even though regulations can be frustrating to entrepreneurs at a time, you have to respect them.
How do you think the payment ecosystem will evolve over here in India, considering the kind of technological evolution that India is going through at this point in time?
You don't have much of a penetration of credit cards here. You have a lot of debit. You have a lot of prepaid. And I was talking to the CEO of Money on Mobile, which I thought was a very interesting company today. And there are lots of fascinating opportunities that are going to be uniquely Indian. And this is the interesting thing about payments. Payments are so interwoven into each country's culture that they evolve differently. So you can't just take what's working in Europe or what's taken over in the United States and clone it. You have to build something that's indigenous and uniquely Indian.
From unicorns, the conversation about unicorpses, so is there a correction in terms of valuations for startups?
I honestly don't pay any attention to that stuff. I really don't. The numbers that I look at are the resources that startups have. So the whole unicorn thing was something that was cloned. Aileen Lee cloned the term. I like Aileen. She was actually involved in the early part of Square, and she's wonderful. But I think labeling any company as a valuation is inappropriate. I think what you're looking for is ability of a company to get the resources it needs. And what we see as a trend in general is entrepreneurship is getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Okay, so these days you don't have to have a server farm, you can use it in the cloud. Your development stack is getting simpler and simpler each iteration.
What does Jim Mckelvey have up his sleeve as far as engaging himself with India as an entrepreneur or as an innovator or as a startup is concerned?
So I'm a partner in a couple of venture funds that are looking at making some investments in some Indian companies. I can't tell you which ones those are right now, but we are seriously considering it. I'm also the founder of a nonprofit called Launch Code, which helps get talented people jobs in programming. And you wouldn't think that's difficult, but it turns out that just because you can do the work doesn't mean you can get the job. And the United States has a big problem with this, and we're solving it there, and I'm hoping the solution will be international someday.
All right. I just want to ask, is there, the way in Indian payment ecosystem is, do you think a Square-like company can exist in India or come up in India?
I don't know what you mean by Square-like. Okay, so it will be a uniquely Indian solution. I mean, Square's in a number of countries, but in each case we have to respect the different cultures of those countries, and it's that respect for how things are different because payment is a form of communication. Payment is something that's very personal and unique to an ecosystem. So you have to respect that, and I think if it will be Square-like in some ways, I hope, but it will certainly be different.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.